Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your host, Seak, Parris. Man, we back with another one, man. You know, we bring out the dopest guests, and we did it again for you. Man, you can follow me at 12vegoneapparel. But before we get to the guest, I'm gonna let my co-host introduce himself.
Miketees, the second half of Squad Creative Podcast. Follow me at Miketees on all social media platforms. And today we are rocking with Vince, DTF Station. How you doing today, sir?
Good, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I know we talked about this months ago about getting on here and doing this podcast, so I'm excited.
Oh yeah, it's most well overdue.
Yeah, man. So let's jump into it before let the people know who you are, what you do, and all that stuff right there.
Yeah. So my name is Vincent. I work over at DTF Station. We're probably, if not the biggest DTF station, DTF provider in the U.S. and we're actually global now too. So we're in Australia, we're in New Zealand, Germany. We're going to be at Printing United. We have like 4 distributors there with our printers. So, but my primary job, I'm a product manager. But what I like to do is reach out to dealers and get more people to carry our products. And so, if you go to our website, I think we have about a dozen companies within the U.S. and pretty big name companies that sell our DTF Station products. So that's kind of my primary job. I travel a lot. I've seen Mike on the road a bunch of times, so I'm all over the place.
Yeah, man. So DTF, man, DTF took the world by storm. I know you sell DTF printers, but I'm gonna start this one out a little different. From the DTF printer person, is vinyl dead?
Vinyl is always going to have a place, I think, in our industry. It's such a good way to get into the industry, from someone as a hobby to someone that's starting a business. Funny story. That's kind of how I got started into all this. Actually, this was probably 10 years ago now. I coached a kids wrestling program. I had I had like 40 kids from the ages of 5 to 14 in wrestling, and there's not a whole lot of money in wrestling. But we were traveling to these different tournaments, and I needed, uniforms for my kids. I needed the logo. I needed their names on their shirts. And so I went out and on eBay found the Cameo 2 is the one I started with. So it's been a while. And then I started looking for vinyl locally, and there was a company that was like 20 minutes away that sold vinyl. I had my girlfriend at the time. She went and picked up the vinyl, and then they were like, hey, do you know anyone that's looking for a job? And I was coaching full time, but it just made sense. I was like, hey, I'm going to start buying these products. I want to learn. So I got a job there, and from that day I was hooked, and I've been doing this ever since. But vinyl's not dead, and I don't think it's going anywhere for a long time.
Right on.
Let me put you back off that question. If vinyl's not dead, how about screen printing? Is it going to take over screen printing?
It's tough. It's a craft. Most people that I meet that screen print, they love it. It's a skill. And not enough people that get into it now are learning it because it's such a process. It's like you would go to school to learn how to screen print, right? And now people can just get a DTF printer and watch a 30-minute YouTube video and be professionals. And so I think a little older crowd generation, screen printing's there, but I think the guys that are coming up right now, I don't know if it's going to be as popular, in a few years as it is now, but it breaks my heart, man, going to screen printing places where that's what they primarily do. They get a DTF printer and they're like, wait a minute. I just pumped out 100 shirts in an hour, no screens burned, none of that stuff. So I think over time, screen printing is going to phase out a little bit, I think.
Wow. There's some people that's about to come for your head.
I know no one wants to hear it, but, again, it's a craft. If you do it, it's a skill. And I commend you for doing it. It's not easy. It's not for everybody. And so, again, a lot of people that get our printers try to screen print. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So for those that don't know or may not know, can you explain the difference between DTG and DTF?
Yeah. So direct-to-garment printing is something that I'm super familiar with. We talked about it before, but I used to do a lot of installs on these printers and teach people how to actually print. But basically, direct-to-garment is you feed a shirt into a printer, and it'll physically print on the shirt. The problem is you need a pre-treat. And I don't know if you guys ever pre-treated before, but it's not easy by any means. It's sticky. It's messy. I got shoes that are covered in pre-treat. And if you don't do that correctly, your prints don't come out correctly. So DTG is great for cotton shirts because that's really all it's good at is 100% ring spun cotton. Anybody will promise you can do polyester. I would say show me and then see how easy it is. But DTF is awesome, man. You're printing on film and you can apply this transfer to pretty much any fabric material. So it could be polyester, it could be a blend, shoes, hats, wallets. That's the biggest difference is that DTF is just so much easier to do. And that's why people are doing it.
So, you sell commercial DTF printers, correct?
Yeah, well, actually, so what's cool about us is that we sell a DTF printer for everybody. So if you're an entry-level hobbyist getting into it, I got a small desktop version that's 8 inches wide, but it prints a roll, and it's awesome. And then if you outgrow that, I got a 24-inch guy or a 16. So entry-level all the way up to production or mass production.
So how you feeling about people just going to go get these Epsons off of eBay and converting and running it from the home?
So it's a nightmare, man. I think that's why we're so popular is because when DTF took off, everyone kind of got burned getting those machines off Amazon, eBay. You pay a couple $100 for the machine, but it doesn't work after a week of using it,
Right.
And there's no support either. And so I know a lot of my customers that went that route and they regret it. And now they're with us and, they're set up for success. And so there's always going to be those people, though, that go on Amazon, eBay, that buy the machines at lower cost. But I wish them luck and I wish them the best. But, there's a reason that, we stand by our warranties and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's
Would
awesome.
you talk about the printers that y'all have for sale over there at DTF Station?
Yeah. So what's cool actually is that we don't sell directly to the public. We have dealers that sell the products for us. But right now, what's really hot because of the price point and because it's new, it's our A4 DTF printer. It's kind of targeted for crafters, entry-level users that are just getting started. Not everyone has $20,000 to spend on a DTF printer. Right. You might not even have orders for it yet. You have ambitions, you have a game plan. It's low-level cost to get into it. It's perfect for craft. It comes in 3 colors. I know Mike saw the colors. We call it our classic. We have a mint. We have a pink. So, if you're a crafter, I know people love to match their crafting rooms with the colors, and so we have that. But that's really entry level is kind of what we really got into this year in that industry because it's so big. We were primarily selling to big companies that needed a 24-inch, a 16-inch DTF printer. But we found the demand was actually in the crafting space. And so when we cracked that, it's kind of taken off. And we do have a new unit called the R2 that we just launched. It's like mid-range. So it's like entry-level, mid-range, and then production. And that mid-range, I think, is really the sweet spot where people have started to outgrow this entry-level guy and they can get into something bigger and faster with 2 heads and more production-based.
Yeah, man.
Gentlemen, before we continue, let me read a few of the comments. Thank you to everybody that tuned in today. We do this every week, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Colette Christopher, how are you doing this evening?
Hey, what's going on?
Sketches to Design, how are you doing? Thank you for tapping in with us.
Sketches, what's happening?
Real Rice says, my wallet says HTV is still alive.
I agree. It's not going anywhere. I love, like I said, I love vinyl. I think my Cameo 2 is still in the cover somewhere. It's still got a blade on it. It'll still work.
Breezy Custom Creations, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Breezy.
Yes, you met her at as well.
Yeah, I just watched some of her videos the other day, actually.
Yep. Real right. I truly think screen printing issue is most people don't have the space to do it correctly.
Right. You ever go to the trade shows? You see the ROQ booth that's like the size of a house. It's massive. I'm like, where are you gonna put this? And you ask the price, and they're looking, how serious are you? And then it's like, well, this one's 1.2 million. I'm like,
yeah. I gotta see, like, to play off of that question, that comment. Like, I have a 4-station screen print set up in my garage, but I don't have enough room to set it up. It's just sitting there collecting dust right now. I got all the screens, everything with it, but no room, and that is a big issue.
Wow,
for a lot of people. What else? You just put. I just messed up a breezy comment.
Breezy had asked, so at Wallapalooza, I spoke to you at Vincent. Hey, how are you? So what do you think the difference from DTF and white toner? So she's wanting to know the difference between the two.
Good question.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with white toner printers. Actually, I used to do demos at trade shows, and I'm very familiar with Uninets. There's a couple of different brands that are very similar at what they do, but the biggest thing with white toner is that A and B process. I don't know if you guys have ever done it before. So you print on that A sheet, you press it together with that B sheet, and I used to like hold my breath every time I'd peel it. Like, please work. I would.
Yeah.
Basically, that B sheet's the adhesive, and it would work like 80% of the time. Like, and nothing would change. There'd be no changing factors. And then you'd press it on the shirt, it'd be okay. But it's kind of a promotional use. That film isn't cheap either. You've seen a lot of our white toner companies out there start carrying DTF products and printers because it's just a better product. And the actual end product is just better longevity wise. And it's easier to do. I wouldn't say white toners for everybody because of that A and B step process. It's rather difficult.
Yeah, man. I want to hear. Tell me from your point of view, the pros and cons of DTF.
The biggest pro is that transfer goes on anything, right? And so coming from someone that pretty heavily in DTG printing, it's hard to sell like a $20,000 machine and saying, hey, but you can only do 100% ring spun cotton. You can do some polyester if you get creative with it and you have a dryer. But with DTF, that transfer is so easy to just press on polyester, nylon, leather. People get really creative with it. And so that's the biggest pro and also too, like, because it's so big now, transfers are more available than ever, right? So I go on Facebook and I see there's tons of companies now, like local places. I could probably order transfers and within a few miles find a guy that's selling them. And if I'm selling t-shirts or I'm starting a business, being able just to go a few miles and grabbing transfers, and all I need is a heat press now, and I have a full business, and it's pretty cost effective. I think the downside of DTF is the learning curve. I think everyone has high hopes of getting into DTF right away. They get their machine and they throw the inks in and they start doing a print. It doesn't work properly and they throw their hands in the air. I totally get it. It's new for a lot of people. When I first used that that Cameo 2, that blade cut through the vinyl the first time and I was pissed. I was like, well, now I got to get more vinyl, Same thing with DTF, and really what we're trying to do is make it easier for everybody. Like, we have 2 classes every Tuesday and Friday that if you bought the unit from us, you can join as many times as you like. On Tuesdays, we get like a dozen people. On Fridays, I host it and we get like 1 or 2 people. I'm like, where's everyone at? We're here to like teach you how to do it properly. So I think the education right now for DTF is kind of what's lacking. But on the positive side, if you can learn how to do it, it's the best process right now out there.
Yeah, man. Let me go a little deeper right quick for you guys. I want to know what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing with people that are getting into I wanted to say DFT so bad. DTF.
I think the biggest thing first is just understanding that any printer that uses a water-based ink needs a little more TLC, and so you're putting wet ink inside a machine, especially white ink. If it's solvent, latex, doesn't matter. White ink needs a little more love, and so we've come different generations of our machines where it has auto cleaning. The white ink stirs itself, but understanding that, if your machine doesn't have auto cleaning on it, that if you're not printing every so often, it's going to clog, and I know you guys know print heads aren't cheap. And so, that's the biggest hurdle coming from a vinyl customer or someone that uses vinyl to DTF. It's a whole nother ballpark. And so, I don't know if you guys have ever been to our YouTube channel, but we're constantly putting out content on like technical stuff. Like, we're really trying to educate before people make that jump, because you can be successful. You just need to know, hey, I need to maintain my machine. I need to do some maintenance every day, or when I'm done with the machine. If you take those little steps, it goes a long ways in longevity. Like, I know, Mike, you guys have a humidifier in there, not a lot of people would have that in their home, so environment's important too. So there's a lot of factors. Yeah. 3 of them. Yeah. Yeah. 3 of them.
So This is a question concerning DTF, and maybe you may know or may not know. How come white is so sensitive? What's the deal with white? With the white?
The best way that I explain it is that, and I say this to everybody at a trade show. So if anybody in chat see me at a trade show, I've probably said this a million times, but there's a special chemical in white ink, and it's like that bucket of paint that if you let sit too long, it gets that thick layer on top that you really got to get that round stick and stir it till it mixes really well. It's the same thing with white ink. And so it gets really, really thick if you're not using it all the time. And so you use it Monday and come back next Monday and your machine's been off. It's probably not good. And so what happens is it separates like oil and water. And so once you start running the machine, you're going to start losing white because it's like transparent almost. You look in your lines, you're like, wait, I can see through the lines now. It's not white. And so that's why you got to, if you don't have auto stirring or auto maintenance, you got to make sure you're stirring that white ink at least every other day. And white ink is special. CMYK, like a sublimation printer, let it sit there and walk away. Yeah.
I'm going to hit the questions up a little bit. Sonia, appreciate you tapping in. Barb, we see you. Thank you for tapping in.
What's going
on? Strawberry and cakes. Hey, you guys, this is your first time here. Please subscribe. Lock in. We do this every week, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And you never know who we're going to have in there, in that chair down there. I'm trying to say it like my brother said. You know what I'm saying? Jeff B. Hello, guys. How are you doing? Jeff B. Mike, glad you and Jason got the colors figured out. You got my gang sheet done today. I'm not sure if you're saying I got it done or if it's in a process of getting done, but if it's in our order, we'll definitely get it to you. Greatly appreciate you joining us today. Breezy says it's not cheap at all. And another one from Barb. White toner printers have their use, such as temporary tattoos and using it on other items besides garments.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, I think there's so many different films you can buy for that white toner printer, which makes it really cool. But if you do temporary tattoos every now and then, it's a big investment to do it. You know, if it's not like what you're committed to doing. But yeah, the white toner is great for all the different applications and medias that it has. But for fabric and t-shirts specifically, it's completely different than DTF in terms of quality.
So I want to talk about something that everybody seems to avoid, man, because DTF has become such a household thing and everybody got to do it because they want full color.
Yeah.
Safety, man. How important is the safety and what kind of tips can you give these people for being safe while DTF printing?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of companies in the beginning, including us, you know, it's very not the powder is the one thing that I think everyone's kind of afraid of in the beginning. You know, not knowing, people are just sourcing tons of stuff from China and it's like, hey, let's throw in packaging and ship it out, you know, not really knowing what's inside of it. And so in the beginning, like no one had certification on any of their powders, right? And it's an adhesive, you know, it's very similar to what screen printers have been using for a long time. Really what it is you're cooking an adhesive. And so any product that we sell that gets cooked, so like our ovens have built-in purifiers now on them. Our big shaker dryers, some of them have built-in purifiers. Some of them have separate units that has a hose that gives you, there's like 2 filters on it. It's like a HEPA and a charcoal filter. I've read some horror stories on Facebook when it was first coming out. You know, everyone was kind of like, wait a minute, like people are putting them in their home and they don't have any windows and they're just breathing that stuff in, you know? And so on our packaging, it says wear a mask whenever you're dealing with the powder, especially if you're inhaling it. I always tell, you know, our customers to be safe, make sure you have proper ventilation. If you're not using a purifier, have a window next to it with like hosing a fan that pushes that air out. Just be safe. You know, again, it's an adhesive and I don't want to breathe that in and I don't want anybody else to. But as far as the inks, you know, it's a water-based textile ink that's been out forever. There's a bunch of Equitech certifications on our powders and inks. And so it's come a long ways, but again, I won't sell you an oven unless it has a purifier on it, you know, unless you tell me you have good ventilation, then it's like, okay, cool. Like, you know, we want to make sure that our customers are safe. That's the biggest thing.
So I've heard you mention oven a few times. For those that don't know, what are you referring to when you say oven?
Yeah, so we have a lot of our customers that do sheet printing. You powder it manually, but a lot of our customers start with the heat press, and so they'll put that transfer with a powder on it, and they'll put their heat press really close to cook it. The problem is it doesn't get hot enough unless you get close enough. And I've messed up so many transfers where I'm not paying attention. I look back and it touches it and it sticks to the top of the plat, and then you got to like clean it. Oh man, it's a mess. So an oven just makes it easier. It's literally looks like a convection oven. We have different sizes, but it has a drawer. You pull it out, you put your transfer in, you push it in, hit start on the timer, about 60 seconds, and that transfer is completely cooked. And because the heat's trapped, the whole transfer is cooked evenly. If you've ever done it with a heat press, you're like spinning the transfer because some parts are cooked, some parts aren't. So anybody that does sheet printing, I'm like, hey, get an oven. If you're going to use a heat press, awesome. But I promise you, in a month or two, whenever your order starts to build up, you're going to want an oven. You're going to bottleneck at the heat press. So ovens are something that a lot of our customers use, and it works great.
Yeah, man.
Vincent, with that startup, basically the startup DTF, could you let us know how much that costs for those that's looking to get into direct-to-film?
Yeah, I think if you wanted to, so what's cool is a lot of our customers are crafters, right? So they already have a heat press, so like half the battle is already there. I want to say it's like $2,245 for the printer and software, and then by the time you get like the inks and the films, powders, I think it's right below that $3,000 price range. And that's pretty much for everything you need minus the heat press, which if you don't already have. And then we have bundles with ovens, and so you can get it all at the same time. But if people that are just getting started, I'm like, hey, you can get by with that heat press, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to want to get that oven pretty soon.
Yeah, man. That oven sounds like a lifesaver.
Yeah, it's just consistency too. The last thing you want to do is press a transfer, and then your customer calls and it's like, hey, it's washing off, or the transfer's coming off. If you didn't cook that transfer properly, it's not going to stick properly.
Yeah, get that orange peel. As far as actually buying that unit and printing transfers, would you recommend that, or is that just more for personal one-on-one shirts?
Our desktop guy, we sell it actually with a shaker dryer. It's called the Seismo 11. And so if you get it with, you're going to do some volume with it. Now, again, it's not for like commercial printing where I don't expect you to use it 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, but you got 100 shirts to do. Hook it up to your Seismo, or if you're doing sheets at a time, you totally can. At the trade shows, I try to run this thing the whole show, with it printing. And so it can do it. It's not meant for that, but you can totally do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. I think there's a couple questions over there, Mike. Would you check that?
Sorry, y'all. We just been yapping it away. Been dropping bombs on us, and we're definitely trying to get it out for you guys. Don, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. But everyone says it's so hard. I gave up. Don't ever give up, Bar.
No.
Question for Vince.
So hold on one question. Hold on before you say that. So one thing about that, a lot of things, it is like, I don't personally print DTF, but what I've learned just from talking to people on this panel and all that stuff there is that it's hard, but I think that a lot of us judge our levels of understanding by other people's level of understanding in this industry when we come home and all that stuff. So I think it's one of them, you gotta, put your foot in and see what it do for you versus listening to what everybody else said. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think the resources available too, now that DTF is as big as it is, it's out there. And so if you want to learn, if you want to really be successful with it, there's tons of content. Our YouTube channel doesn't get as much love as I'd like because for the amount of content we put out there, but really it's just to help the customer, even like those classes, like I'm telling you about, we host those classes, and I know how many printers we're selling, and I know how many people are joining, and the numbers way off. I'm like, please just join. Like, I don't know how to get you guys else to join because I want to help you guys, and I think a lot of like the hard part of it, we try to take out of it with our content, our live classes. Again, our classes are just like this, but you guys have printers in the background and they're printing, and I'm like walking them through it, or if they have basic questions with software and stuff. And those resources are available. So if you're kind of scared or on the fence, go to our YouTube channel, check out what we're kind of teaching, and then if you have questions, we can answer those.
So everybody on this live
channel.
It should be DTF Station on YouTube.
Y'all go
Right.
subscribe and support the cause. I've actually watched the videos. They're very informative. Make sure y'all head on over and subscribe to DTF Station on YouTube.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Yeah, man.
Or proactive maintenance on DTF printer is a must. There's a learning curve for knowing the RIP software. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the RIP software is like the make or break on the printer, right? So you can have the best printer out there, but if your RIP doesn't have color profiles, it doesn't run the printer properly, like it's not going to work.
Leonardo 29098 asks, but why is the ink so sporadic?
That's a great question, man. You know, it's crazy. We've felt it too. Ink manufacturers, you go to a trade show and every single person that comes up to you is like, you should use our ink, it never clogs. And then we test it and it's like 2 days into it, it clogs. And so we've gone through a few different manufacturers, actually, you know, some from the States, some from China, Korea, different places to see what works best. And so we've done a lot of the testing, but I think we've got it dialed in. It's not necessarily just the ink though. Film is half the battle.
Right.
All film is different. There's hot, warm, peel, different thicknesses of coatings. And so if you're not using the ink that we provide with the film we provide, I can't promise you it's going to work the same, right? Because we've done the testing. We know how much ink to lay on that film, how much heat to apply, all that stuff. So if you're using different ink and film, you just got to do a lot of testing is what it comes down to.
And that's one thing that, like when people say it's hard too, as well as it was a whole bunch of people just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it stuck.
Yeah.
For the longest of time. Now it's starting to get a little better, where there's more people, more experts at it versus just everybody trying to see what's going to work for them too. So
I'm definitely not an expert, but I have like a dozen DTF printers here that I've tested on the market that, you know, things we like, we don't like, and things that work the way they should, and printers that aren't working the way they. So I've seen a lot of them out there, and I promise you they're not all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a question about the inks, and this is on a different side of the inks. There's a lot of people coming out with fluorescent inks, and then I've seen the the glitter film.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
You know, glitter film we tested for a while. When we first heard about it, we got some in. Our concern was that when the ink prints onto the film, that the glitter will actually bounce back to the print head and clog it. There's a couple companies that are doing it right, and so we're releasing some rolls for glitter pretty soon, and we're also going to have a glow-in-the-dark film, holographic film, and so we're going to have the full lineup of films coming out. Probably, I think at Printing United we'll have some of those films on display. So they're pretty good. They work well. I really like the glow-in-the-dark, and again, glitter works well. But as far as the fluorescence and a couple of machines, DTF printers take 4 heads, right? And so I believe one of the heads could be dedicated to like fluorescent. And so it's really cool. My only concern is that machines that have multiple heads, I mean, you guys worked on a DTF printer, so you know how sensitive print heads are. You know, if you have to care for another print head, it's just another layer of maintenance that needs to be done. And fluorescent's cool, but is the demand that high for it? You kind of have to like play it out, the pros and cons with it. So it does work, the fluorescent, but you would need like a 4-head machine to have an additional head for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I read the glow in the dark. Y'all showing off now. I love it. It's cool stuff. It works really well.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's dope that they're trying to come with different levels of it instead of just printing the ink, because like when you compare that to vinyl, there's so many different vinyls. Mm-hmm. So I think in comparison, DTF has a long way to go when it comes to that, to choices. But
yeah, I mean, that's why I think vinyl is going to, like the puff vinyl, like that stuff is so popular, you know, like that's going nowhere. Even like the golds and the metallics and stuff, like we have some DTF films that replicate it. Is it perfect? You know, it's getting there, but vinyl still has a spot in our industry, so it's going nowhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with that puff now. Come on now. The puff.
Man. I go to Disneyland. My dad got that Disneyland shirt and the puff on the back, and he spent like $90 on a t-shirt. I was like, no, come on.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Kim, I didn't forget about you. Miketees forgot about you. I'm gonna blame it on him. but I will be getting
Oh
at you
wow.
in a few days.
I take the blame. It's all
Yeah, Mike Tees forgot about you.
right. As if I want to start out with a DTF minimum print size of 13 by 19, what would you recommend as well as a price point?
Good question, real right?
Yeah.
I'm taking
do you mean like if you're selling the transfer or if you're like making the transfer? I guess.
I think he's meaning make it.
Make it and sell that size.
Yeah, the cool part about DTF printing, and I know a lot of local people or even online that you can buy transfers from, is that gang printing is like the most popular thing. It'll draw a lot of customers in. So like that 13 by 19 sheet, as long as you send me 2 files that'll fit on that sheet, then I can do X amount of costs. I don't know the price point on that. I would say you'd have to factor in how much you're paying for ink and your film and all that stuff. And then just don't sell yourself short. I see way too many people selling transfers nowadays because there's so many. They think just dropping their prices is going to help. But really, if you get a good customer, you have good product and the transfer is good, they're going to keep coming back, and so don't sell yourself short, whatever you do sell it for. But I see that way too often in our industry. People sell shirts for, a couple bucks and they're not making any money. It's driving me crazy.
For those that's looking for his website, I have put it up as DTF Station. Visit him there, dtfstation.com. Also on Instagram and also on YouTube. Is there any other social medias that I'm missing, Vince?
No, that's those are our 3 big ones right now. Again, we're trying to grow the socials. We got you met my guy Jesse, who does a lot of it over at Wallapalooza. He's great. He travels all over, films everywhere, and so our YouTube is growing, and our Instagram we're going to make an effort this year to really push. So if you don't see a whole lot on those socials, it's going to be a lot pretty soon.
So as far as preparing for a show, can you take us through that? How do you guys get ready for a show? With machines and stuff.
It's definitely the busiest time of the year. We have a really good team because we've been doing it for so long, going to trade shows. You go to a show and you see a booth and it's like, oh, that probably took, an hour to set up. But so for Printing United, the show is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're actually red-eyeing Sunday night, getting there Monday, setting up all Monday and Tuesday, and then we work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So trade shows are definitely the busiest time of the year because we're shipping equipment. We have to set up the equipment. We have to build the flooring, build the backdrops. It's a lot of work, and I like going to trade shows. It's fun, but 90% work. And then the other time is talking to customers, and, by the time you're done, you're exhausted and you just want to go home or go back to the hotel and sleep. So, you know how it is. I've seen you at shows. And so, everyone there has an energy drink, or running on energy drinks.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So how many trade shows do y'all do a year?
So what's cool right now, we primarily go where our dealers are at. So if a company will have, they want to bring their DTF printers to the trade show, they'll let me know or I'll reach out to them. And it's like, hey, are you gonna have a machine? I'll fly out to you guys. Last year, I think we did probably about 12, where it's probably like once a month. Previous years we've done, I think one year we did like 20 of them. And so always on the road, always going to different dealers' locations, like the Wallapalooza or trade shows or open houses. But trade shows is a big part of what we do. A lot of people learn from trade shows that, they're beginners or they want to learn about the industry, and it's a good place to actually learn and see what's out there on the market. So anybody in this chat that's thinking about getting into it, if you have a trade show locally to you, probably major cities, they have them all the time. Don't be afraid to go because they're good learning experiences.
I live in the Wild Wild West now. I wish it was one there that I could just walk to every so often. But but I just want to ask, man. So you mentioned that people can go there and learn, like to people in the industry that want to get into this game, that want to print T-shirts and do and all that type of stuff. How important do you feel that the trade shows are?
It's from a company standpoint, I think just the brand recognition, getting our brand out there across the US, because someone in Ohio, knows who DTF Station is and we're nowhere near you guys, right? Like having our brand that's my biggest thing right now, is that we're trying to be an Epson, we're trying to be a brother, and we're going to get to that level. It's just we need that brand out there and in the space, and so getting to connect with individuals across the country, I think, is not just, selling equipment's one thing, but people understanding DTF Station, going to the website and they're like, hey, they have a lot of resources. Like, to me, that's what's most important, connecting with our customers and dealers out there. But from a customer standpoint, like, it's a tool. Like, if you're serious about getting in this industry, you probably should be there. If there's so much new equipment every single trade show that you can use in your own business, or you can improve with what you do and make your life easier. And so they have classes too. I know a lot of these trade shows have classes that you can sign up for. If a lot of our dealers have free registration links, so you don't have to pay to go. It's free for most of them. So there's no reason not to go. So if you're in the industry, you should go. If you're a dealer, come say hi to us. But yeah, they're super important.
I feel like I'm starting to poop out. I had PT before this. Sorry. But I feel like there should be more.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be a lot more. I've been to them before, but like, it would be nice if, like, you could, if they represented the smaller cities.
Yeah.
Because everybody don't have the money to get there every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a tough part too, right? Because most of these shows are in like the major cities, because they can get they know they'll have an audience there. Like, it's accessible. But yeah, I think more and more, like, these actually like smaller crafting shows that we started attending too, like, they kind of pop up a little bit in different places that I never thought I would be at. But I just know they need to draw on bigger crowds to like get people to attend. So hopefully there are more trade shows though. I'm spread pretty thin as it is, so hopefully I don't have to go to all of them. But the big ones, I'll be there.
Yeah, man.
So Vince, I'm gonna actually go back in time on you. What did you do prior to the actual printing industry? What was your goals and aspirations?
I've always, in high school, like, all I did was wrestle. Like, that was my life. My passion was wrestling competitively. And I went to college and wrestled at Grand Canyon University. I wrestled D2 out there for a while. And I just love competing no matter what it is. I think that's what drives me, is competing. And so when I started working I started coaching a kids program, and we're going to these tournaments, and I saw these other schools with their jerseys and their uniforms. I'm like, there's no way. Like, they're not going to beat us on the mat. They're not going to beat us before they get on the mat. They're not going to look better than our program. Like, I'm not going to let that happen,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it started, man. And also getting to work at a place that sold heat presses and vinyl. One of my really close friends that was a customer of mine that I just became friends with, said they sold DTG printers, and I was like, that sounds like a challenge. I'm making these customers, but I'm selling vinyl, I'm selling heat presses, like lower level items, which is great. But I know I can sell that $20,000 machine. Like, I know I can do it. And so I saw it as a challenge, and I think that's why we go all these shows, and why taking red eyes to these trade shows is kind of what we do. Because we're the first one at the trade show, setting up that booth, like getting it done. It's a little passionate as far as competing, and even outside of work, like, I play darts competitively, which is pretty fun. Like, I travel a little bit to go play darts too, and so wherever we go for these trade shows, I'll go find a place to go play darts. And some of my dealers play darts too for some reason, and competition is, I think, what really drives DTF Station. Even all my colleagues here, someone says they play basketball, it's like, well, let's go play and see who's better. Like, it's always a competition. And I think we take that mindset into our industry. I see different DTF printers that come out in the market, and we're like, well, let's figure out what's different about that, or like, let's see what their support looks like, and let's be better, and so that's what I hold. I mean, you talk to anybody that knows me and knows I'm pretty competitive, whatever it comes to. So I think that's a lot about me, is just being competitive.
That's dope. Mike, you want to hit up that comment section? I see it over there moving, man.
The Educated Natural. Hi, Mike and Seak and all. How are you doing, 10?
What's going on, Kim?
Breezy Custom Creation says, laugh out loud, blame it on Mike. Yeah, I'll be the fall guy. You know, that's how they do me. Breezy Custom says she's gonna hit you up at Vincent. That's you met her at Wallapalooza as well.
Yeah, you know, it's Vince at dtfstation.com. So if you want to, anybody wants to reach me, Vince at dtfstation.com.
T Johnson, well, that's a lot of show, but that's great too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, sometimes I wish I was just spectating, you know, because some people knock it out in like 2 hours, then they go eat, and then they're done. I'm like, dang, I'm there for some of these shows are 9 to 5 for 3 days in a row, so it's a long day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, resources is key. Anybody can sell you equipment. That's so true.
Period.
That's the scary part with DTF. You know, I think a lot of people got burned in the beginning, right? Anybody can go on Amazon, eBay, and buy something cheap and never touch it again. You know, because it's not a quality product or there's no resources available.
So I've asked, you know, some things for a beginner to get into DTF, but I want to hear your take on what it qualifies, you know, a person to justify that purchase.
Yeah, you know, I always ask people too, especially when because you know, again, we don't sell direct, but you know, I talk to the dealers and that shows I get to meet actual customers, and I like people to have a plan. You know, and anybody can watch a video and be like, well, I'm going to get that printer and be successful. It's like, who are you going to sell this to? Or like, are you making for a brand, or are you selling it to make transfers, or like, what is your plan? You know, like, I think you need to have that. And I think why crafters do so well with our machines is because they're already making shirts with vinyl. They're already doing something. They already make clothing either for their family, and they realize that there's another option out there for full color. And so I think that's the biggest thing is the customer. Anybody can get the DTF printer, and they can sell the transfers, but like, how are you going to do it? Do you have a website? I think that's the first thing I asked you, Mike, when we were talking about DTF printers and transfers. Like, well, what's your website? I want to know, because, you know, I want to see how people are doing it. If someone else is successful, then, you know, hey, this pie is really big. You know, like, there's never going to be too many printers. There's never be too many screen printers, right? Vinyl users. Our industry is massive.
So what we've been doing all this talking and all this stuff, right? But we have not addressed the what printers. I know the Prestige A3 is one of the printers that I know y'all sell for sure, right? What else? What brands can people look for?
Yeah, so that's the beauty of it is our products are DTF Station products, right? So the line of printers is called the Prestige. That's the biggest reason why I say we're trying to be an Epson and be a brother is because, you know, we got into a good spot at a good time where we actually partner with our factory in China. So our brand is DTF Station and our brand is global now. So if you go to type in DTF Station, you can find our printers in Germany, Australia, New Zealand, right? So the printer itself is called Prestige, but the brand is DTF Station. So we have the Prestige XL2, which is our 24-inch guy. We have L16, which is our 16-inch guy. R2, which is our newest guy. It's a 13-inch dual head printer. That one's cool because it's about a $10,000 price range. So it's like that medium level printer. And we're taking pre-orders now. I know we've already pushed a lot of units because people outgrew that initial printer, or, you know, they want something with higher productivity. And so we have the R2, but we have a DTF printer for every level of user, from entry level to production level.
That's dope.
Prior to us getting on, you and I had a conversation. We were talking about QC, quality control.
Yeah.
And the overall preventative maintenance. Could you please explain that to the people on the show?
Yeah, you know, that's the biggest thing, and why I think we're as big as we are and we're continuing to grow is my colleague, he's in China like 2 weeks out of the month QCing equipment before it even gets shipped to the United States, right? Whether it be boards or parts or changes to features, we're ahead of the curve. So our machines might look different. Our first 24-inch printer was half the size of everybody else's 24-inch printer. And now you look at everyone's printers the same size now because they shrunk it down. They figured out, hey, how can we get it to look like that? Even cleanings and auto maintenance cleanings, like we add those touches to it. Like our machine in our warehouse doesn't need a bunch of humidifiers because our printer auto cleans every couple hours. It circulates white ink. I don't have 3 purifiers on my guy over here, and it's in a warehouse. It's not in a nice controlled environment, So QCing is the biggest thing that a lot of companies that I see at trade shows one time, I don't ever see them again because their machines aren't QC, they don't work properly. And so that's why I think we're going to be an Epson or Brother, because we QC everything that we get, and we continue to make adjustments to the current printer. So any machine we have has gone through like 5-6 revisions. And that's why when we put it out there, we're pretty confident that, we've done all the testing. I think that's the biggest difference.
How old is DTF Station?
So it's DTF Station as a brand is about 1.5 years old. So it's that first wave of DTF kind of took off during COVID. And so we had DTF printers out there on the market, but we didn't push as a brand until we finally got the machine that we're like, okay, this is what we're going to push. Let's go reach out and get dealers. And let's make this happen. And so it's about 1.5 years right now. So it's still fairly young. But if you go on our website, dtfstation.com, you'll see the list of dealers and you'll be like, I know that company, because
I saw that.
We're young, but we're not small anymore. We're growing.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. This went from a dream to something that's actually tangible to something that's successful. And just want to say congratulations to you guys, because another journey hasn't been easy. And to see that you guys are moving into different spaces, it's amazing.
No, I appreciate it, Mike. And this is the beginning too. So we're just climbing that mountain. We're still at the bottom. We're a long ways from where we want to be. There's a lot of cool equipment that we've been testing that we're going to have out in the field in the future. And so as the industry keeps changing, we're going to keep changing with it. And it's just the beginning. So
there's a standard thing that happens on our show. We ask the person that's going to come out with something that may not be disclosed to the public, and the squad likes to present it first. Is there anything that you could tell us that may be coming out in the near future that hasn't came out anywhere else?
You might have, there's a couple companies out there right now that have UV DTF. They're not doing it the right way though. Like I said, I have a couple of them back here that we've tested that there's a lot of issues with the adhesive and the way that the ink and we are going to have a UV DTF printer. We don't have it anywhere on our sites. No one, we talked about it. It's been whispering here and there, but by the end of the year, we will have a UV DTF printer out there, potentially like a mid-level one. So it's going to be pretty good price point. So if someone wants to get into UV DTF, it's going to be there. So that'll be by the end of the year. So I don't think we've talked about it anywhere. We haven't brought it to any shows or anything like that. So kind of heard it here first.
Yeah, man.
What's the difference between UV DTF and regular DTF?
So UV DTF, it prints. It's a different style of ink that prints on the film, and as it goes through, it gets laminated. And so it basically makes like a sticker almost. But this sticker is really permanent. So you could stick this on a koozie, I know tumblers, or a wall. Like it literally becomes a sticker that you can put on anything, like metal, ceramics. Because that's the big thing. People want DTF, but they're like, can I do a mug? It's like, not really. But with UV DTF, stick it on there, put it in your dishwasher. I don't care. You're good to go. So it's really popular. I think it's going to take off. It's going to be really big.
How big can you print a UV DTF?
I want to say the guy we're coming out with is 13-inch. I've seen some on the market that have a 24-inch guy, but again, when you start getting that price point, there's different UV options out there, right? We're trying to like make it accessible for everybody. So I think ours will be about 13 inches.
Wow.
That's nice. That's nice.
That is.
Yeah, we're excited.
I've seen very little talks of UV DTF around, everywhere. I know that I've been hearing a lot about the direct film machines and things of that nature, but I'm excited about the UV. We have some that we sell here, but we buy them from a third party, and then, we sell them here.
Yeah, that's the best part, especially being able to offer everything, right? Like if you sell transfers, what they want to put it on something that's not able to take heat. Like, well, I got this here for you. Just stick it on and peel it off, and you're ready to go, and it's permanent. So if you're a print shop and you can do both, you can pretty much do anything, right? There's really no turning down customers. Yeah, I see comments saying UV DTF been out for a while. It has, like I mentioned, but the actual, when you see ours, it's a little bit different. And I've tested it. That lamination stuff is super sticky and it's not perfect. I think I've damaged like 4 print heads trying to get it done with some of these machines that I've tested. So when ours hits the market, it's going to be big.
4 print heads. Those print heads are not
They're
cheap.
not cheap, man. No, they're not cheap.
Yeah, not
And
at
that
all.
UV, that the lamination stuff is sticky, man. Like, there's a lot of factors to it, and so we've made a lot of changes to what we're going to be coming out with. Yeah. So it will be different.
So that has to be vented out as well, and then temperature control.
Most definitely, yeah, more so than regular DTF. Those fumes are pretty strong.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So again, we have stuff in place though for that. You go to a trade show and you walk by a booth and you're like smells, and you see their printer. It's like they have no filters or nothing. The same as the UV DTF, but we got that covered.
Awesome. I met you guys together, you and Esteban, years ago. I think probably like 2 or 3 years ago. Shout out to Esteban, AA, all American.
Yeah, shout out. He's awesome, man. I've traveled all over the country with that guy. So I guess I could say the world. He was in FESPA too. So I guess all over the world.
This is my thing. When I walk past y'all booth, it's unlike anybody else's booth because y'all are having a full party. Tell me about the parties you guys be having. I walked up one time. You guys were dressed up in I don't know what you were dressed up in. You guys were dressed up in like characters at the booth.
Man, we travel so much that we love to have fun. And I think it shows too. You go to the trade show, you see a booth, and they don't want to be there. Yeah. That energy, like you feed off the energy. And Esteban, that guy has a lot of energy, so I got to keep up with him. I'm a little younger than him. He always says I keep him youthful, but he has a lot of fun. He's loud. He's very energetic. And so I try to feed off that too. So wherever we go, he's going to be at Printing United. And so All American has a booth there as well. I'm excited to see him there and spend some time. But I think that's the biggest difference too, is that, people we work with, myself, like we get out there, we have fun. And I think customers see that and it draws people to the booth. I know when we talked, like you said, we were wearing something funny or we have themes and stuff like that, just to like be different than everybody else.
Yeah, man. That's how you got to have fun, man. Especially when you're just not away from home, you got to figure out how to make it fun. So, man, commend y'all on that there.
Yeah, no, we're always trying to, especially all these cool cities we get to explore. It's like, can we catch a game, or what sport teams out there? What is there to do after the trade show, or meet with dealers and all this stuff. So even at the show, man, when we're setting up our booths, we'll be the loudest ones there, setting up, having fun. So we always find a way to.
Wow. Yeah. So let me ask you a more personal question. Yeah. So you said you're on the road a lot, man. How was that affected? How I want to put this? How does that affect you on a day-to-day, just being home? Being away from home, I mean.
Yeah, it was much easier when I was single. So I'll tell you that right now. My girlfriend right now is awesome, and so now when I'm away, I miss being home. But at the time when I wasn't, it was like, send me wherever you want, So it was like, what show can I go to? Instead, now it's like, all right, what show do I have to go to? Right. But I enjoy it. I got to experience it for a couple of years, like being on all the time, to where I really appreciate where I live and like my community and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I've also gotten the opportunity to explore new cities, places I thought I never would be. I think in like 2019, 2020, I was probably been to like 25 different states, like just doing trainings and trade shows and stuff. So I enjoy it a lot. And I also enjoy when I'm home now too. I can take a little breather. But again, shows are coming up, so we're prepping, and I'm excited to be on the road too.
Back at it.
Awesome. Breezy Custom said, I won 16x20 heat press last year from AA open house here in Philly. That was my first time meeting Esteban and Reyna. Love them.
Well, I'm glad you won a heat press. That's pretty awesome. That's a good. You get a printer, you have a full print shop basically at that point. But yeah, our deal, it was really cool. I was with Mike not too long ago at Heat Transfer Warehouses, Wallapalooza, but our dealers have open houses all over. So I know you mentioned having like more trade shows, but all these companies have open houses all the time, too. So like that's a resource you could use as well.
Definitely. Well, is there anything else that you would like to, get out there about DTF Station?
Just the biggest thing is that we're young, like we mentioned, as far as like how long the company has been, but in terms of growth and in terms of partnering with good companies that sell our equipment, I think that's the biggest thing, because a lot of companies now, a little more household names are in the market, and they're rather new. And so, our goal again is to stand out the most. And so that's why you'll see us at every show, and you'll see, at Printing United, we'll have a bunch of printers from different booths. Lawson is a huge company in the United States that manufactures a bunch of stuff. They have our DTF printer in there. We have a Germany booth in there. We have All American. We have our factory has a booth there. So we're not some small company just because we're young. And so I want people to understand that. And we have the resources to kind of back it up. Go to our website, check it out. Please click videos at the top. I promise you're going to learn a lot. And there's a bunch of cool stuff there for you.
That is solid.
Y'all don't sound young, though. Like, listening to the accomplishments and the things you're doing, how y'all are operating, y'all don't sound young. That's why I asked how old you were.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope, man. That's dope.
And being that we got you here in the beginning, we would definitely love to bring you back, for updates and, advancements as far as new equipment or new opportunities that may be on the rise. We greatly appreciate you coming out and speaking with us. You guys follow DTF Station on Instagram, visit them on YouTube, and subscribe.
Yes,
and
please do, guys. We're trying to grow it. YouTube channel, please.
You're almost at 1,000. I mean,
that's what we're trying to hit. Yeah, Jesse's been on my butt. He's like, dude, we need to get to 1,000. I'm like, hold on, I'll figure it out. Like, it's a competition at this point. Like, let's get to 1,000.
Yes, everybody go subscribe immediately. Pick up them gems from DTF Station. It was great. It was wonderful speaking with you and having you come on to the show.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. I learned some stuff, you got my eyes open. So that's a good thing. And I wish I was a little more myself today. We would have had a little bit more fun, but appreciate you, brother, for coming out. Appreciate you telling your story, sharing with us, and all that stuff.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Honestly, this is probably the first podcast I've done, and I had a great time. And I love the questions. For the first few minutes, I didn't click the comment section at the top right, so I didn't see the questions come in. But thank you for everyone attending. That's awesome. I see some people subscribe, so thank you guys so much. I don't know what number we're at, but I think we're almost at 1,000. So thank you guys so much.
Sure.
So, guys, we will see you next Thursday at the same bat time on the same bat channel. I don't know.
Yeah, man. With Gifted Hands by Javiah, and is our guest for next week. Breezy Customs, when you gonna come sit down there in that box down there? When you gonna get that thing? Holla at us, huh? We want to talk to you too. Nobody is exempt from this seat up here.
Oh yeah.
Y'all have a good week. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you guys.
Next week, we'll see you.
Thank you guys.
Yep.